starting at 0 ms, meters per second. I'm so sorry. Yes, we should talk about velocity to understand velocity. That is a very good idea. A huge thanks to my Patreon supporters for making this episode possible. Good morning, fellow mathematicians! Welcome back to another video. This has been lying around in my room for about 3 months by now, but we are finally going to review the manga guide to physics today. I was reviewing the manga guide to calculus before. You can find a link to the corresponding cancerous video down there in the description. But today we are going to review this beauty. And I'm kind of excited about reviewing it because actually I have heard a lot that this book is actually a pretty good source for introductory physics, introductory mechanics. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about what we are going to see in here today. And just like with the last manga guide to something review, I'm going to give this book away. What I did last time is I did not only give this book away, I put a customized card into here with greetings to the winner with my personal signature, and also signed the book and put a few words into here, a fresh Toad Walker style. And this is what you can also receive if you participate in this giveaway. What you need to do to win this book is pretty simple. During the video, there are going to be letters here that are going to appear everywhere in the video, one after another in order, and this is the solution phrase that you need to send to me via pi=3@papaflammy.engineer. Send it to me and I'm going to pick a winner randomly up until, let me see, mid of April. Mid of April is going to be the deadline for this giveaway, like 15th of April, alright? And now we can dive into the main video after talking a tiny little bit about money, because you know, it actually costs me money to buy those things that I'm giving away here in videos, and when I bring it to the post office to send it to someone's way, especially in the USA for example, it's going to cost me money yet again. Oh, so many costs I have to manage here on this channel. And do you know what is helping me to manage my money nicely? It doesn't matter if I want to pay cash or by card. Well, you probably guessed by now. I'm using the Rich wallet to keep my money nice and secure and very tight in my pocket. And obviously I would like to thank the Rich for sponsoring this review episode here on this channel. And if you're not familiar with the Rich yet, I'm going to give you a short and spicy introduction. Rich are the creators of very stylish lifestyle products, like for example my huge collection of backpacks that I have by now, and their signature product obviously is their so-called Rich wallet. It's a very nice and very industrial looking wallet that you can keep around nicely in your wallet without leaving a huge bulge in your pants. And not only does it look absolutely fantastic, just look at this thing. This is the carbon fiber one. It also comes in various other colors, like their newest collections, like the gold ones or the Damascus ones, but also in their old colors that they introduced a while ago, like the topographic ones or like the Hawaiian style, which also looks pretty fantastic if you ask me. And they are actually extremely durable. You are going to get a lifetime warranty on these wallets because they want to keep their promise that they are never going to break on you. So it really doesn't matter if you throw it against the wall, throw it against your wife, for example, because you hate her, I don't know. I shouldn't say something like this in the sponsored message, but never mind. They are not going to break on you, and this is a promise they try to keep. Yeah, and if you're not satisfied with the services, you can just send it back their way, because yeah, lifetime warranty. If it breaks or something, just send it back to them and they are going to give you a replacement one, or you are going to get your money back. And I for myself really enjoyed the Rich wallet and their other products. Like they also got space style pens by now, like they are pens that can also ride in space for example, or they are selling knives, etc. And like mentioned before, I just love their backpacks overall. And if you feel like this could also be a product that you could benefit from, maybe you wanna pack everything nice and tightly into your pocket without leaving a huge bulge in your pants, then definitely make sure to check out the link at the top of the description, rich.com/papaflammy. With it you are going to get 10% off your whole order, as well as worldwide free shipping, which is a seriously great deal if you ask me. So use the link, support the channel this way, and now we are going to dive into the main video. So before we get started, just a tiny little bit of background information on the Manga Guide series. They have been created by my main spider Hideo Nita, should be his name, I think. Yeah, Hideo Nita is his name actually. He's a Japanese boy, hence the manga style, and he's the creator of a bunch of manga guides. Very famous ones include the Manga Guide to Calculus that I have reviewed before, then the Manga Guide to Linear Algebra, which I have lying around up here, which I'm going to review at a later time, and also Manga Guide to Physics. But there's also a lot of other stuff like the Manga Guide to Quantum Mechanics, Manga Guide to Statistical Analysis and stuff like this. So a bunch of books which are made to be like a very nice and user-friendly and especially beginner-friendly introductory course book to certain topics in all things STEM. Really doesn't matter what you want to learn, there's probably some kind of manga guide on it. And actually with the Manga Guide to Calculus I was already kind of satisfied with what it produced, and actually it's not about those manga panels that you find in here and like soft porn tone of all the panels, etc. It's more about little information pieces that you are going to get in between. So at first there are going to be manga parts, and then from the manga parts they are going to go over to more mathematical or physics oriented parts, which they are going to round up a tiny little bit with exercises at the end. So if I can find something, we are going to take a further look at that in a second. For example, on this page right here. Those are like conclusive pages where they introduce, for example, Newton's laws and vector calculus, etc., which are going to act as fundamentals for what's to come here in the book. And it's in pretty good order if you ask me. So it's very didactical in my opinion, and it actually gives a good introduction to a lot of topics. And without further ado, we are now going to take a closer look at the contents of the book, and we are going to see if it's actually as good as people say. So as per usual, let us take a look at the table of contents at first, and then we are going to take a look at what's actually inside of the book, and then I'm going to give you a rough overview of the manga panels and actually the conclusive parts of each and every chapter. So the Manga Guide to Physics this time. And at first we are going to deal with a prologue, and does physics bother you? Yeah, it does, because it's applied mathematics and that sucks really hard. So other than that, we are going to take a look at first at the law of reaction and action, and after that we are going to go over to force and motion. And there are actually laboratory parts in there, finding the distance traveled when velocity varies. Oh, maybe that's why it's such a renowned resource to get started with physics, because there are actually experiments in there that you can try for yourself. This is kind of curious. After that we are going to take a look at momentum, and once again laboratory parts, law of conservation of momentum for vectors, and law of action and reaction versus law of conservation of momentum. Very interesting stuff. And after that we are going to go over to energy, obviously, but I'm thinking, wouldn't it be better to go from momentum to forces? This is kind of curious. No, force at first. This is kind of weird. I think you should start with momentum first, but I'm going to see how it pans out. And we're going to go over to energy, and yeah, conservation of mechanical energy on a slope, etc. Yeah, good stuff. Let us take a look at the first chapter, just a prologue. Does physics bother you? Oh my god, blub. Stay in the game, Megami. I gotta concentrate. Several hours ago. How did you do on the physics test? Well then, what was your answer for question 9? We're comparing answers. Okay, so we got a bit of stuff. Suppose you're hitting a ball with a tennis racket. That's kind of a nice coincidence, am I right? Because they are playing tennis. Which is greater, the force of the ball pushing the racket or the force of the racket pushing the ball? Select the correct answer. Well, obviously they are going to have the same forces. I selected C. Yeah, etc. Good old stuff. Then they are going to try to explain a bit of stuff here. And yeah, she's getting beat the fuck up because she's pretty bad at playing tennis. Yeah, you can see that she's losing against the Tsundere-chan. Oh boy, ooh, this is exciting. I can see some panties here. Oh, this is really good stuff. I can see where this is going. Next up is going to be the introduction of the hentai main OC. There we go. There he is. This is just a nerd guy with the glasses, but you know, shit is going to get real when this guy appears. and so on and so forth. This is all of that for the prologue, no one cares. Now we are going to get into the physics part, law of action and reaction. And the krill is, what is the krill doing? What is Megami-chan doing? She's paying the little hentai main OC, little visit right here, and how the law of action and reaction works. Okay, now let's get started. You want to learn about the law of action and reaction, right? Yes, I do. Yeah, may we introduce Papa Newton? I've seen him before when striving through the pages a tiny little bit. Are those rollerblades? Just put them on. Okay, so basically what he's going to do is a little student experiment that I like to do too. You have two guys sitting on roller skates or skateboards and they are pushing each other away, and you're going to notice that they are going to be pushed away with the same forces, basically, okay, into opposite directions. So for each and every force there does exist an equal force but with a different direction, so same magnitude but opposite direction. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, exactly. This is what they are trying to communicate here in this first chapter. And whoa, this guy, what a slick guy. Oh, he's hitting his head wide open. Okay, now this is getting kind of bloody. Okay, pretty involved in the story here, as you can notice. The direction of the force here, obviously the ball won't fall through your hand, meaning the forces cancel each other out. So we are in an equilibrium position, and he's not talking about he's talking about equilibria already, or maybe just balancing forces. This is basically the same thing. Yeah, good stuff. A nice intuitive understanding for vectors or directions at first is using arrows, and they are basically doing a good job here. This is what I do in schools too. They are introducing the hand's force, which has the same length as the gravity's force, and they are cancelling each other out, because plus and minus, different directions, cancelling each other out to a force of 0, to a net force of 0. Yeah, and this is basically what he's demonstrating right here. Yeah, and the same thing with the tennis racket. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, another panty shot. Tsundere-chan is pretty hentai days, if you ask me. And yeah, here's the famous example with the Earth putting the same force onto a ball as the ball onto the Earth, basically, in regards to a certain system. Yep, that's always something that you have to remember even when you study physics. And here's our boy Newton, okay? Using a bunch of stuff, and now I would like to get to the part where they talk about vectors. Yeah, this right here is, in my opinion, the best part about the Manga Guide to Something series. It's just a part where they really thoroughly introduce concepts mathematically too, and nicely in a good semi-rigorous way, you could say. Starting off with vectors as arrows in a vector space, basically, but they are not talking about vector spaces, obviously. We're not doing linear algebra here. And it has a certain magnitude, which is going to be denoted by the absolute value of the vector overall, and it has a certain orientation. Just a certain direction being introduced by the unit vector, but they are not talking about unit vectors yet. But other than that, yeah, a vector is equivalent after a parallel move, meaning just linearity properties overall, and you can add vectors together to get this vector parallelogram, etc. And yeah, good stuff. Difference between two vectors and negative vectors. Basically all the properties of the vector space are going to be introduced here, commutative laws, but they are not explicitly talking about vector spaces right here. I mean, there's no need for that in introductory physics. The only need is to basically introduce how vectors work and what you can do with those. That's totally enough. And after that they are introducing that forces are actually physical objects which have a certain direction and a certain magnitude, and that they can cancel each other out. And then they are also basically underlying all of these concepts with formulas, which is pretty good. This is something that you should definitely do. And then Newton's 3 laws of motion. We got the first law, which is the law of inertia, then the law of acceleration, and the law of action and reaction. What did they say about acceleration? The net force on an object is equal to the mass of the object multiplied by its acceleration. F equals to m times a. Yeah, cool stuff. This is a very nice introduction. I actually like it a bit more than the Manga Guide to Calculus up until now. I don't know why, but it's a pretty nice introduction, getting started with the forces here and not introducing any kinds of units right now because this is not of importance at the moment. Drawing a free body diagram. Okay. Yeah, what they basically do is they are going to turn objects which have a certain volume or dimensions into mass points to make calculations easier. And this is the part I was referring to when doing my video on heavy objects actually fall faster. You can find a link down there in the description. It's Newton's universal gravitational law. They introduce it here, which is pretty good. Okay, with the universal gravitational constant, good stuff. Yeah, I actually used this result from this book or from previous videos in my kind of recent video. And next up, we are going to go to force and motion. So what do they have to say? Before we can understand the laws of motion, we need to know what velocity and acceleration are. First, let's talk about velocity to get the simple idea of velocity. Yes, we should talk about velocity to understand velocity. That is a very good idea. And basically what he's saying is, okay, we can walk a certain distance and it's going to take you a certain amount of time and they are dependent on each other basically. So velocity as a function of time, you could say. Probably that's what he is going to introduce it as, displacement over time. Okay, good stuff. And you can walk different ways. You can take a look at this from a bird's eye view. Yeah, that's a bird's eye view. And you can follow the directions, meaning it's once again just a vector. This velocity, and yeah, this is what they are going to introduce it at. And then you can start increasing the velocity while doing moves, meaning you can change the velocity over time, leading overall to acceleration. Yes, change in velocity over a certain amount of time. This is what they are going to introduce it at. And now we are at the laboratory part. Let me see. Finding the distance traveled when velocity varies. Let's change the settings so as to steadily increase the velocity up to 0.5 meters per second. Here's a quiz for you. Given the velocity has attained 0.5 meters per second in 4 seconds, how far has the radio-controlled car moved? The RC car, if you didn't know already. Starting at 0 ms. Meters per second, I'm so sorry. The peak velocity is 0.5. So let me calculate, assuming the average speed 0.25 meters per second for velocity. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay, so she's basically going over differences right now, meaning if we have a steady increase in velocity, we can just basically use this formula under the graph where we just take the areas under the graph. This is basically what they are going to go at. And yeah, this is what I was talking about. What you can do is you can take a look at the VT diagram, and since the velocity at or in this laboratory experiment is going to be just a constant velocity, we can just take the area under the curve to get ourselves the distance that we traveled. But it's not always that easy, obviously. This is what the other laboratory part is for. We can have curves which are not nice and constant on the velocity. And for this you basically need to take integrals, or for just a steady increase or linear increase in velocity, we can actually find nice formulas for the area under the curve. This is something that you can derive quite easily. Okay, this is just a triangle basically, and yeah, good stuff. Newton's first and second laws. Okay, they are introducing it with strings and with masses on it, and then they are making cool stuff. They are building themselves a pendulum. And with pendulums you can actually do a bunch of cool experiments in just taking forces into account, building all those force parallelograms, and then just talking about those a tiny little bit. That's a nice derivation, and this is exactly what they are going to do here. Yeah. Just take a look at that for a second if you're not familiar with this idea already. But if you're watching the channel, you're probably familiar with this idea. Oh, our first romantic arc. I think this is going to turn into a love triangle. And then we have muscular zero guy, muscular additive identity guy. And they are throwing around apples. Don't throw around apples. They are pretty important for physics, okay? Newton, etc. Law of acceleration, okay? Bunch of more stuff, and then Newton's second law, yes, F equals to m times a. a further introduction to that. And then laboratory, finding the precise value of a force. And 3 rules of uniform accelerated motion. Yeah, this is what I was talking about before with the uniform accelerated motion, when the velocity increases at a linear rate. Composition and decomposition of forces, good stuff. Yeah, adding vectors, the head-to-tail method. Yeah. Yeah. Wait a second, what's all this sine and cosine stuff? Nice that they are talking about sine and cosine here. This is pretty important, especially for the whole pendulum scenario. There you need the sine wave, obviously. Good that they are talking about that. They are giving a tiny little trigonometry refresher here too. And then there's once again just an explanation of the 2 forces, Newton's first and second law. Once again, further information and orientation of velocity, acceleration and the force. Yeah, using calculus to find acceleration and velocity. Oh, cool stuff. They are also talking about differentials here. Warning, calculus ahead. So you should probably buy the Manga Guide to Calculus if you're not familiar with this yet. Pretty good stuff. And yeah, using integrals. Good stuff. Pretty nice that they are going to go over to calculus too, giving a bit of further information for non-uniform motions. Really cool stuff. Really enjoying this way more than the Manga Guide to Calculus at the moment. I'm going to read a bit further into the book, just taking a look at all the theory after the video is done. Pretty promising. Now we are going to deal with momentum. Momentum being just mass times velocity. Probably going to talk about how this works. Okay, now we have Tsundere-chan yet again, who's already noticing that she's having a little hentai adventure with Mega and his son. Okay, momentum is mass times velocity, P equals to m times v. Okay, and then a laboratory experiment once again. Okay, talking about which one has the higher momentum. Yes, so just talking about the dependence of mass in momentum, tiny little bit. Okay, yeah, change in velocity over time. Times mass is the force, obviously, which is good. So F equals to m times a, meaning they are also going to take the time derivative into account here. So meaning they are going to go over to the whole derivative of theoretical physics part a tiny little bit. And the connection between forces and momentum, which is pretty good. I like that. Yeah, and then we got a formula. And this basically is going to lead over to the conservation of momentum. Finding the momentum of a stroke. Okay, this is good. Nice exercises, conservation of momentum. Yeah, probably from this whole forces part they are going to lead over to this. Just introducing the whole conservation of momentum. Pretty nice. And once they are done with that, I think we are done with this chapter too. Oh, a little Neko-chan. Whoa, now we got the 3 boys, atomic energy, fire energy and blitz energy. Awesome, what a view. We can see everything from here. And then stuff. What is energy? Energy is very abstract in and of itself. Yeah, probably introducing energy as the thing that drives each and every object to move. Or to emit light, or just radiation in general, and heat. Kinetic energy is being introduced here. Probably no derivation given for kinetic energy and potential energy, and then a few calculations in general. Electric energy, giving you also the conversion from joules to kilocalories or calories in general, and watts. Kilowatts per hour. No, times hour. This is the unit, I think. Not certain about the whole watts. And yeah, then we got conservation of energy, introducing the potential energy too. And work. Yeah, work is going to be introduced probably as negative potential energy, something like that. And last but not least, talking about conservative forces, work, orientation of force and work, and also non-conservative forces and law of conservation of energy. Yeah, this is good. Friction, so meaning dissipative processes, which is also pretty good. Colliding coins and the conservation of energy. And this basically also ends the last arc. And what we are going to be left with is the final battle between Megumi-chan and Tsundere-chan. And probably Megumi is going to use her new physics laws that she has acquired to beat the shit out of her. Impulse, momentum, smash the ball, destroy it, crush it, and then she's going to rip her ass wide open. And here's Hentai-chan. Hentai-chan is going to support her, maximize the force when the racket strikes the ball. Just overall a very, very good experience. And this basically concludes today's video. Just a little bit of final words that I want to say at the end. I actually believe that this book is way better than the Manga Guide to Calculus. It was very compact, but transferred a lot of information to the viewer, or to the reader I should rather say. And just overall, I don't know, it just felt a bit more dynamic overall. I don't know how to say it, but the contents of the book were better overall, in my opinion, than in comparison to the Manga Guide to Calculus. Just gave a really good overview on all the most important topics and formulas, etc., that you are going to find in the first semester at university, and also school of physics overall when it comes to mechanics. So a pretty good experience in my opinion, and I can agree with the reviews just overall on the internet. Pretty good book if you want to get started with mechanics. And other than that, don't forget to participate in the giveaway if you want to get a chance to win this book right here, signed from the Papa, etc. The solution phrase should have been apparent by now. Send it to me via email at pi3@papaflammy.engineer like this, and then you're going to get a chance to participate in the giveaway. Okay, other than that, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out stemmerch.com for stuff like this very cool Chaos double pendulum that you have seen in the background all the time and you couldn't stop staring at. So yeah, definitely check it out, link in the description. And other than that, please stay safe during the pandemic that we are having right now, and I'm wishing you guys a flammable day. Ciao!